Heston singing about the greatest lover. A very good morning to you, Jane, who has kind of taken the time out to email in to say, is your guest referring to Maasai, pronounced Maasai, or some other tribe or nation? You seem to be saying Messiah. I'm sorry if you heard Messiah, Jane, but no. Ingram did say Maasai. Thank you so much for emailing in. Okay, so Ingram, you mentioned about hanging out in Southwark now to teach people both in primary and secondary school cricket. And it's not only children now, you're dealing with adults as well.
Absolutely.
So when does this start? When does this cricket course?
That's a good question. It starts on April the 20th.
That's this Friday?
That's this Friday. I kick off at Bacon's College. I'll be working with their years 7 and 8, and I call it Becoming the Dream. So I'll go into the school and I do an assembly, show them the video, the Community Champions video, show them some pictures of sort of the cricket stars I've been around, met, been inspired by, and then I ask them if they played cricket before, who they play cricket with, if they're at a club, so I get kind of feel of what the school's about, what they've done. And then I start doing sessions, so I stay at school all day long.
Oh wow!
So they've got an idea of who I am, I get a bit more of an idea of who I am and how I coach, and they get a bit more of what the school's like and what the kids are like, and yeah, so it's good.
So from that initial session, will that then determine how often you be going in to teach them cricket?
No, I mean that's with the Bacon Schools partnership. So that's going to be Bacon's College in fact. So I'll be there all the time. So that's good.
Okay. Now I know that you didn't always start off playing cricket. I'm sure there was something about boxing going on before.
Yes. I did box shortly for a short while in fact. I was doing karate many years ago in East London, and I was doing it was at a tournament, a full contact tournament, and I back fisted somebody in the mouth, and they disqualified me. I said, Dad, after winning 2 or 3 tournaments in a row, my dad said to me, I said to Dad, look, I can't be doing this no more. I think I'm going to try my hand at boxing. So I went and boxed, and I boxed, had a few fights, won a few fights, and I went over to America. You know me, I just like to challenge myself, so I said, you know what, I'm going to go to America. So I went to America and I trained with one of the national champions and the squad trainer for him, and it was an amazing experience. You know, getting up at 4 AM in the morning and running along Miami Beach and just training, and as you're hitting the pads, you do 9-10 rounds on the pads, hand work, speed work, and the sun would be coming up and the sun would be burning on your back, and then you'd be running through the sand. An amazing feeling.
And when you mentioned training with the national champion, who was the national champion?
His name was Terrell Brown or something like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
See, now it's funny because you're talking about boxing with a passion.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what made you go into cricket?
Well, I mean, I wasn't to predict what was going to happen. I had 7 years of an illness called chronic fatigue syndrome, and that I had to remodel my whole life. It affected my boxing career. I came back to England and I started training with Ronnie Rush, who trained Steve Robinson, who was the WBO featherweight champion of the world, and he was successful about 7-8 defences in Wales. And I started training with him, and my trainer was a hard man from Trinidad, same parents, same place as my parents. So it was very hard, very hard. He said, boy, you must get yourself together. And I said, I've got no electricity in my house. And he said to me, boy, you must run. I said, well, it's cold in the house. Run more. So that was the sort of trainer I had. And to cut a long story short, one evening, I was on the bag, just hitting the bag, and I started seeing myself 3 of him. I thought, that's not right. Went home, I didn't realise that night I'd collapsed. And I'd gone to the doctor the next morning and I had a viral infection, but I trained on the viral infection. Little did I know, I couldn't train, I was exhausted, so that broke my whole contract with the trainer and everything. That put me out for 3 months. I was exhausted from that. I went to try to get to university, and that was an absolute nightmare because I thought I was okay, and I started flying through the exams at the time, and then it's like the second year, it's like getting really tired, very exhausted, leaving my key in the door all the time, and 1 minute I'd get up to do a talk and then totally forget everything, and the teacher would have to excuse me and say, hold on a second, what's going on here? your work seems good, but you're standing up and suddenly you're just forgetting everything. And it was awful. I didn't know what it was. My body was hurting me all the time, feeling tired all the time, falling asleep in the classroom embarrassingly. You know, the teacher asked me, "Oh, didn't you sleep the night before?" And you go to sleep early. So that happened, and I had to find a way of kind of remodelling my life. And you know, I came back to London afterwards and went to the job centre. I had no job or anything, and there was an opportunity to coach cricket in Hackney.
Okay.
So I went to have this meeting in Hackney with this gentleman, and his name was Chris Gibson, and the rest is history. I started coaching at Hackney. I got appointed as Hackney cricket captain. Out of that, one of the young boys I was coaching ended up being, he's playing for Essex now. His name's Maurice Chambers. Very good lad, fast bowler, and he's on the verge of playing for England, so that's brilliant stuff there.
Yes.
And we used to play against Tottenham. So it was Hackney and Tottenham playing against one another. So we'd play Hackney Downs, and yeah, it was a big rivalry, big rivalry.
Sure, and you've got a story about Tottenham now, haven't you?
Absolutely, it's funny. I've done all the coaching away, become community champion, done everything in Buckinghamshire. I always wanted to come back to London and do work. During the time I'd left Hackney and travelled to Australia and come back, the Tottenham team disappeared. It all sort of fell apart. And there's a great history there because they had the Haringey Cricket College there. So now I've got the opportunity to do some work in Tottenham, so we're going to be doing a project there.
And what does this project entail?
We're going to be trying to rebuild that college that was there many years ago. We had a big West Indian community cricket there and stuff, so we're going to try and work with that. So
brilliant,
yeah.
Brilliant. So where can our listeners find out more about all that you're doing, Ingram?
Okay, great. They can go to the website, which is www.bayloric, which is BAYLORICWORLDWIDE, so bayloricworldwide.com.
Okay. Bayloric,
which means Baylor International Champions Worldwide.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Say it again, please.
Okay, it's www.bayloricworldwide.com, which is BAYLORICWORLDWIDE.com.
Wonderful. Ingram, thank you so much for popping in to talk to us about what you've been up to, and all the very best in the future. Great seeing you again.
Thank you for having me again.
Perfect. We're
Good.
done.